thank you so much for coming out to our June 2nd District Community Meeting. I can see from this great vantage point that we have a few more people coming in. We will start, I would say, 2 minutes, and our agenda had, it always moves around a little bit because we have very busy presenters and we need to be flexible when things come up on their schedules. We are going to start with DPW and our terrific Director, Bobby Vincent. It was going to be our school board member, Mariah White, but I think she's running a little bit late. So just as a reminder, these meetings are always recorded, and that is to benefit you, so you can go back later and watch it again, or if you weren't able to come in person, you can view it at home, and please share it with your friend. Our goal really is to get information out to the community. So without further ado, I will bring up our wonderful Director, Vincent, and thank you for being here tonight. A couple of shout outs. We've got Jerome Connections from Carver. We have, let's see, at Scott's Edition, Jeremy Hoffman. Really great representation from Presswood, and lots of familiar faces from past meetings. So thank you for being here, and of course, Holly McKeechin, who is our City Attorney. Commonwealth Attorney. Yes, thank you. Okay, Bobby.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Good evening, everyone. It's always good to see lovely faces of beloved city of Richmond to come out and get information about it. It's hard to believe, but now we're in a city of about 230,000, and so we depend on the 50 to 100 people that tend to show up for meetings like this in order to be able to get not only information from us, but to also be able to carry that information back to our neighborhoods and to our communities. So I'm going to give you all a brief overview, and in addition to that, there's going to be some very valuable information within this as well. We have some links to this presentation that can also be made available to you in the very near future. Just an overview of the Department of Public Works. Our mission is to provide a clean, safe, and healthy environment. So we comprise of about 16 different divisions. We take care of everything from solid waste to urban forestry to capital improvement projects, inclusive of sidewalks, paving, traffic engineering, as well as transportation management and planning. We have fleet maintenance, grounds maintenance, so all of the grass in the city of Richmond. We tend to maintain all of the parks, all of the playgrounds, all of the medians. We don't just have a few of those items. Just to let you know, we have about 130 medians in the city of Richmond. Monument Avenue is considered one median, not each individual median, but one median. And so we also do street cleaning, and we recently inherited street lights as well. Looking at the city, we have almost 230,000 now. I think when the new census come out, we'll be there. We have a metropolitan area population of nearly 1.3 million, which is just as important because just about everybody rides through Richmond, or everybody from Richmond or the Richmond metropolitan area calls Richmond home. You can't live, if you live in Chesterfield or Henrico or even Hanover County, you can't go to Fredericksburg without mentioning the fact that you're from Richmond. So we take great pride in our city, and so do our neighbors. So we need to make certain that we understand that what we do also impact them. We have over 836 miles of sidewalks. We have 1,800 miles of roads, 200 miles of alleys. We have over 84 bridges, 42,000 streetlights, etc. Now, looking at our streets and our network, this is the typical street in the city of Richmond. It's not like the suburbs in terms of where they don't have anything necessarily underneath all of their streets. Most of the suburban streets, all of this network in terms of infrastructure, in terms of utilities, not just the Department of Public Utilities, but also your Verizons, your Comcast, etc. They're right underneath the roads that we drive on a daily basis. And so when you're consistently working on those scars, you have scars on your road. So imagine our roads consistently being under surgery. That's the reason why we tend to have more cracks, which leads to more potholes, which leads to more maintenance. But in recent years, we've been putting more money towards making sure that we put the, shea butter on our roads in terms of making them as smooth as possible. Next slide. And so the way that we've been doing that is by investing $21 million into our Complete Streets budget. Right off the bat, about $15 million of that goes towards paving. When we pave the street, we don't just put down the asphalt, but we also tend to put down the striping. We also tend to change out some signs. We also tend to put down bike lanes as well. In addition to that, we got about 1.5 million in speed tables and other traffic calming measures, which we'll get into shortly. We have about $3 million that we utilize for some of our major CIP streetscape improvement projects. What are those? Those are projects that are grant funded projects. So say for instance, if the federal government or the state government gives us $10 million to do a project, and they say, hey, look, you guys won this project, it's yours, here's the $10 million. And then it unfortunately takes us 2, 3, or maybe 4 years to do it. By that time, it's now a $10.8 million project. So we have to find the $0.8 million out on our own. So that's why we tend to utilize this funding source there. Looking at our PCI rating, which is our pavement condition index. Back when I took over, when Ross Stoney told me, say, look, either pave the city or I'm going to fire you. I thought he was playing, but I don't know. So I just went on and did what he asked me to do, which was to begin an elite paving program for our city. 35% of our streets will go to better. 35%, that's it. So as you can see here, most of our streets in the city of Richmond were red. You can pretty much stand back and throw a dot in the map, and wherever it landed would have been a good spot for a paving project. When you look at our city today, we're at 71%. 71% of our streets and roads are 80% PCI rating or better. We've been working this not only with the funding that we've been receiving from council with regards to general obligation bonds, but also from our Department of Public Utilities, because prior to us working in a coordinated effort, they would come out and they would pave that 3-foot wide scar that would go throughout your entire neighborhood. Now we take their final dollars, we blend it in with our dollars, and instead of that scar that goes through the neighborhood, we pave curb to curb. So we get an additional $6 million a year in paving dollars from the Department of Public Utilities in order to pave the neighborhoods. Looking at what's going to be taking place this year, which this information will be up on our website by the end of the, right at the beginning of next month. This is our fiscal year 25 paving program. Now, it's not all inclusive and it will change. For the most part, it's about 85% correct. Why the difference? Because we don't know about weather, we don't know about additional construction costs, and we don't know where public utilities might wind up having an emergency that they wind up having to make changes to our paving schedule. So that's some of the fluctuations that winds up taking place throughout the course of the year in terms of us getting work done. So looking at the second district here, as you can see, you got about $700,000 worth of paving taking place in fiscal year 25. And some of you would say, well, that looks low in comparison to some of the other districts. That's because I do not pave in an equal manner. I pave in an equitable manner. It's a difference. So I'm not going to divide our paving program up by 9 and give everybody the exact same amount of money to pave in each district. That would be foolish, and I would not be doing a good job as your director of public works if we did it like that. So the way that we pave is based upon priority and availability. So we follow obviously the Department of Public Utilities. We also follow with regards to economic development projects, and we also follow the condition assessments of the roads. So when we pave a arterial or a collector or a local street, we try to pave in a way that it makes sense. We don't pave in terms of a block here and a block there, or 3 blocks in this neighborhood and 5 blocks in that neighborhood. We're doing our best to try to pave in boundaries that make sense to us as Richmonders and to our communities. But as you can see over prior years, in fiscal year 24, Council District 2 received just over 1.2 million. In fiscal year 23, over 2 million. And in fiscal year 22, over 1.3 million. So as you can see, everybody winds up getting a good bite of the apple. That's how come that green map looks relatively even throughout the entire city. This right here, that one, if you can go back 1 second, I'm sorry. So looking at the second district here, 78% of the streets in the second district, as I'm speaking now, are good or better. I don't think we would ever get to 100%. I think I would be standing here lying if I said that I did. There's always going to be a scar. There's always going to be a pothole. There's always going to be a sinkhole that's going to cause those numbers to fluctuate. And every day that number goes up after we pave a street, the number is also in the process of going down due to the fact that streets that are degrading in terms of their condition. Looking at sidewalks, we used to get about $300,000 a year in sidewalks. This is back when we was getting about $2, maybe $3 million a year in paving. So that's where we're coming from. We're coming from not more than 10 years ago, we were getting about $3 million a year in paving and about $300,000 a year in sidewalks. inflation isn't that high where we're going from 300,000 down to $2.5 million worth of work. Okay, so with regards to sidewalks, they tend to take longer to do. Sidewalks can also be more intrusive in terms to a neighborhood because it take a little bit longer. You can leave your neighborhood in the morning and a milling and paving machine wasn't there. You come back home that evening, it could have been milled. You come back the following day, it could be paved. That's not the case with the sidewalk. It typically takes anywhere from 3 days to a week in order to get in there and get the work taken care of. So it's a little bit more expensive, and it also is a little bit more intrusive, as I indicated. But we're putting our best foot forward. Now, as you can see, now we're doing about over $2.5 million a year in capital improvement projects as it relates to sidewalks. In addition to that, we're doing an unmeasurable amount of work with regards to maintenance. We used to have one concrete sidewalk crew and one brick crew. There's 2 crews taking care of 800 miles of sidewalk. We now have 3 concrete crews and we have 2 brick crews that are out there doing work. So we have increased our maintenance capacity significantly. We now have about 120 CIP projects in the queue and 550 maintenance projects. The maintenance projects are typically half block segments or less, when your capital projects are typically come in 1 block increments. Looking at the high entry network. Many of you have probably heard that. Some of you may not have heard of it before, but the high entry network is just what it sounds like. It's the network of our roadway transportation that receives a high volume of injuries or deaths. So that's what we try to focus in on. Somebody gave me a very good example of the high injury network versus local streets. What the difference is that when you go to a hospital, everybody isn't treated the same way. You have some people that might just need some ice chips, okay? When you have somebody else that might need a blood transfusion. If everybody winds up treating the people that need ice chips with the same level of urgency as the people with blood transfusions, you're gonna have a lot more people dying in the hospital. So it's the same thing with our high injury network. We're trying to focus now on those areas where people need blood transfusions, which is the high injury network. So the way that we tend to do that is based on the factors in prioritizing calming projects. But this is not. Hello? Can y'all hear me? I got a big mouth, so it might just be that. So I can put this down. Good. So, looking at the factors in prioritizing calming projects, we look at crash history, traffic volumes, the road speed profile, the length of the road segment, and the distance to the nearest traffic control device. So that means that each one of these dots represent an accident in the city of Richmond since 2015, where someone was either severely injured and or killed on our roadway. We've had over 39,000 accidents since that period of time. 1,564 of them resulted in severe injury. 146 of them resulted in a fatality. Looking at breaking things down to a neighborhood that the second district is very familiar with, which is the Fan. The Fan, during that same period of time, had 2,776 accidents. 7 of them were fatal. 68 of them were severe injury. Now, that's a big difference in terms of fatalities and severe injuries, because we have a lot of fender benders, I would call them, that happens within our local street grid. So all of these accidents that have taken place, and you can see a lot of them are coagulated on streets that are some of our major thoroughfares that run through the Fan. High density area, there's a lot of traffic, but we have traffic lights, we have stop signs, we have crosswalks, we have all of these things that are placed within a neighborhood to try to minimize the impact of severe injuries and fatalities. So, what are some of those things? First of all, we've adopted Vision Zero. Vision Zero is a concept. Nobody will ever get to 0 fatalities in real life, okay? You do have some cities that occasionally don't have a fatality that year. That's ideal. That's what we really want to see. In a city with the density and the capacity of the city of Richmond, I hope we get there one day. But at the end of the day, if everybody wear their seatbelt, avoid distractions while driving, and share the road with cyclists and motorcyclists and pedestrians, they don't drink and drive, and they obey the posted speed limit, we will be at Vision Zero. But we know the chances of that happening are few and far between. So I keep it simple. If you don't drive drunk, fast, and texting, you probably won't hit somebody. But we have a lot of people that do all of those things at the same time, which increases the capacity or the capability of someone being hurt or someone being killed. So, what type of work are we doing? We're putting in speed tables, we're putting in speed bumps, we're putting in bump outs, we're putting in all of these different traffic calming measures. Bump outs, basically, which are very popular within the fan, they narrow the vision of the driver, okay? It prevents people, number one, from walking all the way at the corner, so that when you pull up to a stop sign, you can see what's coming in either direction. It narrows the vision of the driver so that if you feel as though you're driving through a tunnel, you're going to slow down versus driving in an open thoroughfare, okay? We put in traffic circles, which tend to slow people down a little bit. Speed bumps do it great. We actually use speed tables here in the city of Richmond. The difference is that speed tables go from one curve to the other curve. They cover the entire width of the street. Why we like those is because at that point in time, we only want people to slow down. We don't want people to stop. Speed bumps or speed humps will slow people down to about less than 10 miles per hour. That's not our goal. The speed limit is 25 miles per hour. We want people to be driving 25 miles per hour or lower. So when you go over a speed table, if you go over a speed table, more than 20 miles per hour, it's going to be very uncomfortable. And if you go over at 30 miles per hour, you're going to feel it and you're not going to want to do it again. So it's been working very well for us in areas where we've been able to install them, and we will continue with that campaign. So far, we've installed over 200 speed tables citywide. We've installed 128 chokers or bump outs. We've installed 59 traffic circles and 17 roundabouts. Right now, I have people asking for speed tables like they're aspirin. So imagine a $10,000 aspirin just because somebody's not doing what they're supposed to do. So we're really looking and working with RPD in order to try to increase the amount of enforcement that's taking place within the city of Richmond. But it's not just our city. It's just about every city across the United States of America. Just got back not too long ago from a conference in Denver. And every inner city in the country is having the exact same problem with regards to people speeding and driving fast. Why? Because inner cities in America have had to deal with other things of other importance, or that was dealing with higher consequences over the past several years. So police have been quite busy. In the suburbs, it's not the case. If you don't believe me, drive down to Burnham Avenue. When you're driving down to Burnham, you're not going to care when you're in the city. You're just going to be driving, you're going to have a good time. You cross North Avenue and you cross into Henrico County, you slow down. Not everybody, but most of us with common sense do. We recently recorded somebody on the Burnham going 82 miles per hour. We recently recorded someone on Main Street going over 70 miles per hour. Measures such as this right here, we're looking at to try to curtail that type of behavior, because when you're going that fast, no matter if somebody can pull up and stop and look both ways, by the time you look both ways and not see something and pull out, that car is there. So our street grid is designed for people to drive the speed limit. Looking at the other projects that we have, this right here is a spreadsheet that has been halved for my presentation efforts, but this is $309 million worth of projects. We have over $800 million worth of projects coming to our city in the area of transportation, okay? They range anywhere from a bridge replacement or bridge maintenance, significant bridge maintenance work, to redoing an entire street. And when we redo an entire street, that means that we're going to put in sidewalks, storm water. We'll work with Dominion Power in terms of putting lines underground. We would look at replacing some of the sewer lines in there, put in a median strip, put in beautification efforts, planting trees, curb and gutter, street lights, and then when we leave, it's beautiful. If you want to see what a recent streetscape project looked like, right there on Broad Street, okay? We have to work with some of the people that own and occupy businesses and properties on Broad, because what people don't believe is that the public right-of-way is their responsibility, not ours. I just told you what we have to cut. So you don't want me pulling a guy or a crew of women or men or whatever off of Monument Avenue or off of Brook Road in order to pull weeds that you should pull because you walk past them every day when you come out your house. So anything that's in the sidewalk back up to your property line is actually the responsibility of the adjacent property owner. And sure, we can go out of here and we can cite people. It would be on the front page of the Times Dispatch and Channel 12 because it'd be somebody they can't do it and they can't pull and they're going to show their arthritis. I get that. I understand all of that. But that still doesn't make it the responsibility of the city of Richmond. That makes it the responsibility of somebody that loves that person to help them to maintain their property and the responsibilities that go with their property, and not the responsibility of you all as taxpaying citizens within the city of Richmond. So we have been working with neighborhood and civic associations in terms of increasing the amount of volunteers in order to help people clean up their alleys. We do a lot of quote unquote free, almost pro bono work throughout the city of Richmond. If you live in Henrico County or Chesterfield, you can't put out anything on trash day and get it collected, but you can do that in the city of Richmond. We can give you up to 4 trash cans. You get 1 trash can in Henrico or in Chesterfield, and it's $30, roughly $30 a month, and you can't put a bag outside of it because it's not going to get picked up. Because it's 1 driver, no collectors, they use a mechanical arm to pick up the trash can, they dump it, and then they move on their way. In the city of Richmond, we have alleys, so we can't use the 1 mechanical arm. We have people that park on the street, so you can't have your trash can out on the street like you can in suburban areas. So, and check this out, we're still doing it cheaper than what they do it in our surrounding counties, okay? So, some of the other things that we're doing, we're putting in new signals. You all would begin to notice some of the signals where you can't see them if you're coming. You know, everybody always like to look at the signal and be like, okay, that one is yellow, I can keep going fast because they're about to stop, so I can keep going and not have to put on my brakes. Now, we're putting in now with plates on the lights where you can't see that. There's also a system of delays where everybody is red for a second or two. And that allows pedestrians to be able to have lead time in order to cross the street. So there's different signalization programs and projects that's happening like that all throughout the entire city of Richmond that we're getting grant funding for to take care of within our budget. Richmond Connects is something where we came out and we actually talked to the citizens of the city of Richmond to find out what some of their priorities were. And some of their priorities are, instead of putting something in, let's see if it will work first. So this right here is some artwork that can wind up going down to see if we can put in artwork instead of putting in hard infrastructure, okay? And it's been working. So we've been doing that in terms of putting down some temporary artwork, temporary buffer zones in order to help increase visibility of drivers and pedestrians. And so that's the end of the presentation with regards to items that I had. I do want to open up the floor for only a few questions, and I certainly can provide you with comments on it. I know some of you all may have been asking questions as it pertains to the Franklin Street bike lanes in terms of continuing the Franklin Street bike lane on the other side, which would be on the west side of Belvedere. I promise you we're going to give our citizen input on that. We're still in the process of reviewing, doing a technical review of the information that has come in. And once that technical review is complete, and I believe that's due to be released to the public by mid-July, at that point in time we will set up a system of meetings for our citizens to be able to provide their input. And I promise you we will listen to you. That's one thing that we've been doing, is listening to the citizen. If you're wrong, we will listen to you and not do what you're saying. But you know, but I will listen to you. But if you're right and you make a lot of sense, I promise you that we will also be willing to work with you with regards to that as well. I know a few of you all have also had questions with regards to the installation of speed tables on Clay Street. Those speed tables are coming. We've been basically moving methodically throughout the entire city. We pretty much got one contract installing speed tables, and that contract is doing that work in association with our paving program. So they've been quite busy with us paving, and typically paving contractors also like to do other infrastructure work like ADA ramps as well as sidewalks. So right now we have just about every contractor that we can get our hands on busy within the city of Richmond. So my understanding is that the speed table on Clay Street and within that area should be done within the next 30 days. So at this point in time, I just wanted to open up the floor for questions. I'm going to give you a number based upon the way that I saw your hand come up. So remember your number. I saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, mine is easy. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the work that you've done in Carver after 8 years of this being the Civic Association, I mean, Carla was amazing. So, you know, everybody seems to be doing what they need to do. So and when we complain about what needs to be done, we get a really fast turnaround time to get those projects done. So I really want to thank you for getting that done as fast as you did. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. He's been working really hard with us over the years in order to take care of the bulk and brush program. So he was instrumental in us modifying that. So thank you. Number 2, yes, sir.
One comment and one question. The comment is regarding the speed tables. Several were installed on Franklin Street around the VCU campus.
Yes, sir.
But there is a location where many of us think should also be included in Franklin Street, right where the crosswalk is at Pine Street. That crosswalk is used heavily by VCU students to get to the park, and it's also used heavily by senior citizens. After people go through Franklin Street at Laurel, they accelerate to get down to Belden. The speed table really would be beneficial. That's my comment.
Okay. Franklin, and you said Franklin and Pine?
Franklin and Pine.
Okay.
The question I have is in regards to bike lane. I appreciate you saying that when it's released in July, there'll be a chance for input. I guess my concern and question to you is that input on a final plan that DPW has developed that to be released, or is there input at that point on the design and frankly, whether the bike lane is needed at that point? I will say this, many of us took the survey, but the survey did not provide an option to say, no, we don't think it's necessary. And I did go back and look, I've been told about the 2015 master bike plan. I went back and looked at that. It wasn't clear to me that that was part of the plan, but more importantly, I looked at the survey results from 2015 the DPW conducted, and less than 5% of people responding were bicyclists, or non-bicyclists. It's almost overwhelming bicyclists who responded. Many of us who live in that neighborhood were not aware of this, and certainly were not aware or made aware even after the master plan was developed, that this was going to immediately impact at least 54 homes right there on Franklin Street. And we're very concerned about that and want to have input before anything is finalized. So my question to you is, when you come out in July, is it a final plan that we're having input on, or are we having input on something that's still flexible?
It is definitely still flexible. Very good question. I'm a native Richmonder, born and raised. So you're not talking to somebody that's from New York or Washington, D.C. or San Francisco with all of these bright ideas. 10 years ago, I hated bike lanes. I'll be the first one to tell you. I fought my team on the Franklin Street two-way. It's out there now. I said, there's nowhere in the world people are going to know how to park on floating bike, on floating parking. And so I myself had to be educated by some enthusiasts, as well as looking at some of the modern technology that afforded us the opportunity to slow down traffic and provide a bikeway. Because I promise that's not my voice. And so in the process of when we design based upon what people who would not want bike lanes would want to see. So we have a series of engineers. They just sit around, they're a bunch of geeks, man. They just sit around all day long and come up with ideas that would not make sense in layman terms, but they think about all of the naysayers. They think about the group that wants it. They think about the people that don't care. They think about the person that's speeding. They think about the person that's going to be driving too slow, that's going to make a U-turn and come down the street the wrong way. So they think about all of this stuff and trying to design based upon those thoughts, and then we present it to the public. So by no means is what we're presenting a final product at all. So you will have the opportunity, and we will be open-minded with the accomplishment. Thank you. Number 3. The oldest sewer line still in use. It's amazing that you asked me that, because for Public Works, we're not responsible for sewers, but I did work in utilities for 13 years. And ironically, I was responsible for sewers at the wastewater treatment plant. So the Arch Sewer, which is basically Shockoe Creek, this pipe that is 16 feet by 29 feet in diameter, is still active in the city of Richmond today, which carries the bulk of all of the sewage that's north of the river, carries it over to the James River, and then it dumps into two 66-inch pipes that cross underneath the river. So very good question, and it's a beautiful site. If you all ever want to wind up getting a tour of that, I call it one of the throats of the city, we would be glad to show it to you. It's very visible. Very good question. Number 4. Yes. Good
So the
afternoon.
last community meeting consecutive this week, the Economic Development Department told us that they completed a traffic impact analysis, and that they expected to release it to the public the middle of May. And now we just contacted you to find out when is it going to be released?
So the
Could you
traffic
repeat the
study is-
question?
The question is the traffic, with the Diamond District coming on board, we did a traffic impact analysis with the developer as well as with our wonderful friends at Economic Development, and we came up with a traffic impact analysis. The thing is that there were so many different derivatives of that traffic impact analysis that we had to keep sending it back to them for them to send it back to us. So we came up with all different types of ideas, working with VDOT as well as the developer, as well as our local traffic engineers, as well as the traffic engineers that was presenting based upon the developments that they wanted to see happen within the Diamond District. So in short, it's not 100% complete yet, but it's very close, and when it's complete, I guarantee you it will in fact be released too. Very good question, thank you. And last but not least, number 5. Yes, sir.
Hey, first, so I'm from the Greater Scotts Edition Association
Yes.
board. My name's Jeremy. Before I get to my question, actually, we went through a process of bike lane design, survey, input, build over the course of the last 3.5 years. And many of our residents have expressed similar concerns about not being aware of or being frankly concerned about the impact on parking and confusion around the installation times and the construction. And I just want to say that it's been a resounding success in Scotts Edition, which is arguably one of the more car-centric neighborhoods in the 2nd District. It took a few days for the folks that lived immediately adjacent to the bike lanes to get used to the floating parking, to the uncertainty of crossing into and entering intersections. Business owners that are still, and this actually gets to my question in a second, business owners that are concerned about egress and ingress to and from their business. But throughout the process, we've been very pleased with our ability to have input and help to direct the design to the point where we're never going to have the perfect and 100% agreement of the residents and businesses about something, but it's very good. And so I just wanted to say thank you. We look forward to having the Clay Street raised intersections for our pedestrian traffic as well. But one question that keeps coming up with the residents who do drive through the neighborhood is a sense of uncertainty going into and out of the intersections where the bike lane goes kind of right up to the edge. So there's overlap between like the end of cars and the cross streets. So our streets are mainly east-west, so people traveling north-south are having a hard time seeing traffic and crossing north or crossing south.
Gotcha.
And there have not been, to our knowledge, any accidents or pedestrian or bike kind of conflicts. We're just kind of curious as an organization how we might advocate or say back to the residents who are expressing concern, what are sort of the things that we might use to allay that concern, or do you think it'll just come with time and getting used to it? But yeah, we're just kind of, people are expressing that we'd like to have something to say back to the members of our organization.
Well, very, very good point, and thank you for the comments on the bike lanes there as well. And just letting you know kind of what he's talking about is that the design of a street is more than what we see. We take so much for what we see for granted. But the purpose of the sidewalk is obvious. It's for pedestrians to walk up and down the sidewalk. The parking was actually designed to protect the pedestrian walking down the sidewalk. And so parking, when people weren't parked there, they said, well, how can we beautify things and still offer protection? So we started planting trees. So nowadays, in order for a car to strike a pedestrian walking down the sidewalk, they have to go through another car, through a tree, and then wind up striking the pedestrian. So all of that is used as a buffer zone between vehicles that are traveling and the pedestrian. So that's what has occurred within Scott's Addition, and that's also what has occurred on our floating parking, because the floating parking is designed for the cars that are parked to protect the bicycles, and then the curb and the tree protect the pedestrian on top of the cars that are floating parking. And the floating parking also slows down traffic. If you drive through Scott's Addition today, you would notice that now Scott's Addition is like this, so now you see people driving slow. And they're not just driving slow because they're drunk and just left a beer garden. They're driving slow because their vision has been narrowed. And it's an awesome thing to wind up seeing, so thank you for that. To take back some good news for you, looking at Scott's Addition, we just finished performing the work on the streets that run parallel to Broad. What's coming up in the next phase are going to be streets that are parallel to Arthur Ashe Boulevard. So right now we have about a $1.6 million project that's going to be working with the BRT in terms of funneling people from Scott's Addition up to and from Broad that will parallel Arthur Ashe, that will wind up helping out with bicyclists as well as pedestrian, and offering that same type of visualization in terms of slowing down traffic. So very good question. And I know we have a $1.6 million Scott's Addition BRT streetscape project that's coming up, in addition to the Scott's Addition green space project that's going to also be helping with that. So very good question. And last question, and then I can go ahead and take a seat. Yes, sir.
I was curious if I had an accurate understanding of why the Franklin Street, there's a current bike lane east of Belvedere, and then the proposal is to extend it to the west. Reasons for that, I assume, are safety concerns, especially in light of the number of students with ECU who are pedestrians and cyclists, probably one of the most busy cycling areas of the city. Would that be accurate, or are there other reasons that part of the street?
Yeah, we received a number of inquiries in terms of increasing our bike network, and Franklin Street was the first bike superhighway that was developed in Richmond. We had a bike highway on Floyd, but Franklin really was a superhighway. It was like you have bikes going in both directions on one street, and they could go pretty much as fast as they wanted. They got the green light, and it wasn't going through a neighborhood; it was going through the financial district. And so there have been several inquiries over the past several years in order to extend that further up towards Monument in terms of trying to be more inclusive of the ECU community who does utilize a large number of bikes. So we're trying to make sure that we have our infrastructure as inclusive as possible. None of us like the bike sharrows. I know I don't. You know, we first came out with sharrows where you have bikes riding the exact same lane that vehicles travel in on a regular basis. We don't like those. So we do want more dedicated bike lanes. We're just not sure right now if that's the place where we're going to put them. So that's the reason why we're doing this study. Very good questions, and thank you all so much for your time. If you have any additional questions or you have concerns, please put them into 311, or you can certainly ask Finn or your lovely councilperson here who's been doing a great job for you all. Thank you so much.
All right, fantastic. And next up, I'd like to welcome our school board members, Mariah White. And I think we will, for those who want to dig deeper into that DPW presentation, we can make that presentation available. It will be in our next newsletter. Yeah, and we're going to give up on the microphone. Mariah, I know you can be in an audience. It would be good.
Well, I'm a horse today. So I'm gonna say good evening to everyone. And I would like to give credit where credit is due also. Mr. Vincent, who just left, I want to give credit to him. He put the speed bump on the street for Carver Elementary. I really greatly appreciate that. 3 speed bumps, should I say. I like to give credit to everyone who's doing and supporting our schools in the 2nd district. And like Ms. understand my voice is hoarse. I mean, I'm kind of used to talking loud as being a former commander of the military, so it's kind of easy for me. But what I like to do is give credit to each person who has supported Second District this year. This year has been hard. We've been going through a whole lot of different things, and I like to be transparent with everyone, so you'll know what's going on in our school system. As far as over in Carver area, I like to give Embrace Carver recognition because they have been doing some great things, and I know Jerome mentioned as a part of that. Also, the Monument Avenue, they have been doing a great job for that school district. As far as Fox, the PTA, they are on it. Anything at Fox, Clark Springs, we need, they are on it, and the parents, I greatly appreciate that. The other school that I have is the Richmond Alternative School. Well, let me go back, because also at Carver, we have Kawanza. Kawanza has been doing a great job. They raised, they're in the process of raising over $100,000 to ensure that we have a literacy program. As we know, our students was behind the ministry during the pandemic. So they have been raising money. They come over there every 2 weeks and read to our K through 2, second grade. And now, our kindergartens, they can read and they were a paragraph. So I was very impressed. Also the First Lady, Suzanne Yorkin, she comes there every 2 weeks with her, she called it the girls group. They come and we call her the FOF, First Lady of Virginia. And she comes all the time and the kids know her, they give her hugs. She came the last day of school also to tell goodbye. So we're doing some great things in Second District. Richmond Alternative School is getting a new name. Tomorrow they'll be in their first day of renaming that school. What we're doing, while we're doing that, I'm not into really renaming schools. I'm more into the inner focus of the school. What we're going to do with the school, what is our vision, what is our mission. And you're going to hear that and you're going to see that. You may see it in the papers a lot because it's going to happen very soon. We're getting certified teachers there. We need 10 and right now we're at 7. We have a new principal there. We also have a new assistant principal at Richmond Alternative. If you do not know where the Richmond Alternative is, it's across the street from the Mr. Bojangles statue, directly across the street. It was the old Armstrong School. So yesterday, we had 150 volunteers from community and schools, the national. I made it just in time to thank them while they were getting on their charter buses. They were from every different state. They painted the walls white in the whole entire school. We had a mural done yesterday by Hamilton Glass. So we're really into reorganizing and revamping that school. If you don't know, this is a school for alternative students. Just because they're in an alternative school don't mean they're going to act alternative. I do attend that school probably every other Friday, just like I do every other school. And I talk to the students, so I do know the students very well. But what made my focus on this particular school is these are the students that we have hearings on, disciplinary hearings, and they are placed there. And as you look at your statistics, within the last 2 years, like I said, it's been a little rough on the board. The last 3 years, our homicide rate went up on students. Most of the students have been at that school. So I do know the students. Maybe I may have met you 2 weeks before, and you're not here today. So we need to do something different in this school. And not just for the school, but for the city. Because when it comes out to school, it goes into the community. From the community, we have so many things that happens. So what we're doing, we're going to make sure that we have the resources there. I've actually requested for the resources. I requested for AP, which we do have now. I met her yesterday when I was there. So when I'm saying AP, assistant principal. We have mental health. We will have clinical staff there full time because it is greatly needed. break they needed there. Because I want everyone to be safe there. Even my teachers as well as the other students that have to attend it. And I thank Mount Moriah Church. They just told me yesterday that they were going to adopt RAS, which is the Richard Alternative School, but will be a new name. Also, Jackson Ward, Janice Allen, her group has adopted also the school. She has been over there, so she actually knows what is going on in that school. I do manage the school because it's in the second district, but I don't have any students that actually is in that school. The other 8 board members, most of their students are in that school. The requirement, Virginia Department of Education is 45 days there. I'm requesting 90 days. And the reason why I'm requesting 90 days is because in 45 days, they're just getting there sometimes in 15 days. So that doesn't work for what we need to work on in that school. So I'm requesting 90 days to the next semester. Hopefully that will pass in the next school boards meetings. We got a couple of them. We just had one last Monday. We'll have one this Monday. Last night we had a grievance meeting. Tomorrow is disciplinary committee meeting. So we just don't stop. We keep on and I just keep moving. What else can I tell you? Fox, because everybody likes to hear about Fox. We're on track. We're tracking for fall 2025. I went in there last Thursday. It's looking good. Some changes are made, but they're all good changes. So the timeline was given to the board, and it will be up. We will announce because we will be having 2 big events, and we hope everybody attends those events. So we're in the making of that before the fall of October. You will probably hear within the next couple of weeks. I like to be transparent, like I said. You may hear in the news or you may hear on the newspaper that the board has received a suit. We have, and I have mixed emotions about that because that's a suit that's dealing with the Eltrail, the tragic with the shooting. And I do have mixed things about that because I was there. And that's about it. We're having a great summer. Summer school is there. We have, in the different areas like Every Corn and other areas, we have open sites where children can come and get their meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we have certain particular schools where summer school is, they have meals there. There's no second district schools right there now that we're having summer school. But Dogwood will be in the second district next year when we start this voting. So they will be in the second district. So we do have Dogwood there as a feeding site for summer school, but that's not in the second district right now. So if there are any questions, I know there are some questions, please ask. Hi, how are you?
So are you at liberty to say what the new name of RES is going to be?
We don't know yet. This is the first, tomorrow will be the first day the group gets together and they will do like 3 or 4 meetings and then they'll bring it to the board and the 5 names that they chose. The superintendent will look at it and I'm sure I will look at it. I'm not really into naming and people, you probably heard naming names after people. I'm not into that, but I will, they want to make it new and improved. I'm ready to make it new and improved because our children in that particular school, they didn't receive the education that they needed. They had teachers that were not certified, and this has been happening year after year. And I just noticed that because some of our children who are supposed to be graduating or in the 11th grade, they have credits like 14 or 15 credits. So they haven't been getting the learning that they need. When they go back, they're already behind. So this is my goal, this is my mission. So we do have 7 certified teachers right now there. We had only 1 in that school last year. So.
Hey, Ms. White.
Yes.
How many high schools are in the city of Richmond right now?
Well, we have John Marshall, well, I'm just gonna name, I'm not gonna name the specialties, because I know you're not probably talking about, the specialties.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna just name John Marshall, Armstrong, Huguenot, and, TJ. And the rest of them, we can go on with the specialties like community, or do you want to know those?
No, just to know,
Those are-
I'm a product of the school system also, so I graduated back in '85. The reason I asked that is because I guess the population of the school system is what, about 22,000 students?
Correct.
So I guess the reason I asked that is because as a taxpayer, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything, it's more of a, just a concerned citizen. I know the city's struggling with the tax base. So if there's like 4 or 5 high schools open, and I'm assuming they're not fully full, right? The population is not fully full, and they're having problems hiring teachers, right? So it seemed like to me if they were to close or consolidate some of the schools, that they would have more resources to fully fund 1 or 2. You know, because you look at a place like Prince George County or Charles City or like Hanover, you know, they got much bigger populations and they have, you know, fewer schools open. It seemed like to me they, you know, would have more resources for fewer schools. Is that something that the city or the school system would maybe consider to pool more resources to less schools
Thank you.
to save some more money?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Massenberg. But right now, we're not going to reconsolidate schools because, prior to me, I'll say 8 years, and I recall this, when they did the rezoning, and I'm going to admit it because, I wasn't on the board, but some of the schools are overcrowded, some of them are not. And what is happening is, I know what school you're talking about. We have one school that it's not full at all. And that happened during the rezoning. And if no one knows, like second district, and I'm gonna give you an example. Second district, like Carver. Carver is in the second district, but every child that almost goes to Carver is in the third district. So they're going to Gilman Court. Now, most of the kids that were there years ago, they went to John Marshall because that was closer to Gilman Court. Now those kids go to Thomas Jefferson. So it's a difference. We were thinking about rezoning again, but we must do it the correct way because we have kids coming in and out of our high schools. Also, Richmond Public Schools have a large homeless population. They still have to go to school. So today they may move over to John Marshall. Tomorrow they may go over to TJ. But we have to ensure that we have space for those students. Now the South Side area, yes, there are a lot of students there. There are a lot of students in the elementary. There is a whole lot of students in the middle school. I have asked within, I guess, previous meetings if we can reopen. As you know, Thomas Elkhart, and they had a school and it still sits there. But if you look at our middle schools, they are packed over there. We have over 1,500 students at River City. And they decided to rezone, which Dogwood, which is Bedford. So now that's how that came in. Some of the kids from the 9th and 8th grade, their board member felt that they should be able to be allowed to come over to Bedford. So now Bedford is pretty full because they come from over Hillside Court. So we have Hillside and we have the kids that were already attending Bedford. So if we were to actually rezone a high school, it would have to be John Marshall because pretty much all the rest of the high schools, they are full. Now, dealing with teachers, we're getting teachers now in certain schools. It's the hard to fill schools that no one really wants to attend. We're giving teachers incentives, $4,000 $10,000 to come there. But I have to tell you all, mental health is real. We won't ever be able to get enough mental health assistance in our schools. We have a lot of mental health assistance in our schools. Child savers, we have behavioral health. We have a lot of mental health. But our children, we have a large population of children with behavioral IEPs. I'm gonna be real with you. So we won't be able to have it. We do have the resources, but it's just so frequent.
Well, I don't think y'all as bad as Petersburg.
Well, we're cleaning some things out. And if anyone don't know, we went to clear book bags. Just last Monday, we voted on that. And the reason for that, I did make that motion maybe probably a year ago when we were doing the safety. But then when we had the preschool that came with the gun, the weapon, that was, I had to make the motion again. And,
Is
I
Mr.
went in-
Cameron's the problem?
excuse me?
Is Mr. Cameron's the problem?
I wouldn't state that in this meeting. I mean,
Well,
I would not state that or call out a name
well,
of anyone in the
we're trying,
who's the
we gotta
problem.
be honest. You guys, let's be real. We gotta call a spade a spade.
Well, I wouldn't do that in this meeting. I'm just gonna talk on the facts that I
we gotta call a
know
spade.
that
We
what the
gotta
board is
hold
doing.
people, we gotta hold people accountable.
But what I'm just going to talk about is what I'm dealing with as a board person on Second District, and I'm going to be real and transparent. We do have behavior issues and we have mental health issues, but it's not because some of the kids haven't had it starts at home. It starts at home, and it always will start at home. I have 2 kids in Richmond Public Schools, so I know it starts at home. I'm in every school every 2 weeks, whether they my school or not. I'm over in Franklin, I'm over in John Marshall. They're not my schools, but I'm over there. And I have a relationship with those children. So I know that when they talk to me, we confidential, they talk to me, and I know that there are some issues. But we don't have enough mental health that we can provide for those students. We're doing what we can do, but we don't have enough help. Sir, I saw you.
Yeah, is the school board any closer to scheduling the required training and the memorandum of understanding with the Department of Education?
Yes,
And are we at risk of losing state funding if the school board does not?
No, we're not at the risk of losing funding because this was supposed to be done last year. And then we have some, and I'm just, like I say, I like to be transparent. We had a couple board members who, if you give them a date, they have another date. They have their own agenda. And when that date is coming, because they don't feel that the VSBA, which is the Virginia State Board Association, is what they're looking for as training. But what they have to realize is that this is mandatory, mandated training, governor's training, that everybody needs to go. Yes, we have some dates now, and everybody's looking at their calendar. I really don't look at my calendar because I just go with the flow, and I do have a flexible full-time job that I can take leave and do what I need to do. But when you have 9 people on a board and some just don't want to comply, you have to ensure, you just have to ensure the leadership has to ensure that they stress that it's mandatory. So you may hear me on the board say, and I am a little tired of it because when you tell me it's something mandated, or I tell you it's something mandated, then I expect you to do it when it's supposed to be done. So we're going back and forth with dates now, and it should be between August and September. They did give us some dates. We did vote on the VSBA versus the other one that a couple want. We're no longer doing that because I felt that we were wasting money. If we pay $15,000 for the governor's training, which we have here, that is maybe $10,000 less. Yes. Good question.
Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. It's a great presentation by our good friend Sharon Ebert and Jason Gio. I haven't seen you in forever, I feel like. And then we'll have a registrar do a quick update, and we'll close with Parks and Rec. So just as a reminder, we're an hour into the meeting, and appreciate everyone's time. There've been great questions. So without further ado, Diamond District update. And there were some comments earlier about the traffic impact analysis study, and we will have a whole, once that is out and available, we're gonna have a community engagement meeting about it. I'm eager to see it also. So just know that's not what this presentation is gonna be about, but look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Sharon Ebert. I'm a Deputy Chief Administrator Officer for the City of Richmond. I oversee planning, housing, and economic development, as well as sustainability and minority business development. Here tonight to give you an update on where we are with the Diamond District. Last month, we were able to get approved by the City Council the development agreement with the developer. Developer standing right here, he represents Diamond District Partners LLC, the entity that's set up to oversee the development of all the private development as well as all the public infrastructure. And then we have a separate agreement that has not yet been executed but is almost finalized. That is with the Flying Squirrels and their parent company, which is known as the Navigators. And so we have plans to execute that this month along with the stadium lease agreement. We've also been busy with issuing, getting ready to issue bonds. Our goal was to get the stadium bonds issued this month. If you were following along with our council presentations, we were trying to make a window that closes on June 30th. The state has sunset a sales tax incentive, and we're not going to make that window. We had a lawsuit that was filed against us by an individual. There was a court hearing on the 7th of May, and that lawsuit was pretty much dismissed. But it prevented us from moving forward with the stadium bond issue. And so instead, we're moving forward with the public infrastructure bond issuance. That is for all the streets, underground utilities, the park space, and anything else in the public realm. And the goal is to get those bonds sold before the end of this month. And that will help us start to do all of that work. There is a ton of on-site work that we're working with. The Navigators and their project manager has already submitted documents to our planning team and our development review team for all the on-site stormwater management, basically all the site work. There's some underground demolition work. I know the site looks pretty empty where the grass is growing. But when we took down the DPW facilities there several years ago, we kind of just capped everything in the ground. And so there is some underground site work that needs to happen. We anticipate happening starting in July. So you will start to see some activities out there. We were also planning to have the groundbreaking this month right after we sold the stadium bonds. And because we had to pause with the stadium bonds, we're now planning for that groundbreaking event in July as well. Last sort of 6 to 8 weeks, we've been working on the public realm design standards, and I thank anybody here in the audience who attended. Laura Thomas from our Office of Sustainability has been leading that charge. Those public realm design standards start to set the tone for what the streetscapes will look like. Types of materials, trees, benches, lighting, signage, and most importantly, what the street right-of-way looks like. The same consultant who's doing the public realm design standards also did our traffic impact analysis. And so why the traffic impact analysis is not complete yet, because now we take all that input that we got from the public. We've been working with the developer to finalize street sections. So there's the the street in front of the stadium, which we've given a generic name called the Festival Street. How wide is that street? How wide are the sidewalks? How much space is there for outdoor dining? Should we allow bike lanes also? How do we protect, again, the public walking from bikers, from the vehicles, etc. So that is all the stuff that we're doing behind the scenes, wrapping that up, so we can bring the traffic impact analysis back out to have a conversation with that document as well. And that document, just because I know it's so important to so many people here in the audience, goes all the way up to the 5-point intersection. And it takes into consideration all of the development activity that's happening around the Diamond District as well as the Diamond District. So everything that we know of today, whether in construction, about ready to break ground, in planning, we gave to VHB, who did the traffic analysis. And the interesting point from that was the Diamond District had less than 40% of the traffic impact when it was fully built out. So if you can think about how much work is going to happen in the Diamond District when it's fully built out on the 67 acres, it's all the stuff that's coming around it that has the greater impact on the traffic, including the new apartments that are coming on the north side of I-95, 64, where the Old Quality Inn, Roadway Inn is. So all of that is being studied very detailed. We're working with that particular developer in particular, and I think there's going to be a meeting on that particular project coming up very shortly this month. But we're excited to bring that out and to get public impact. And sort of that's a high-level review of what's happening from my perspective. I'm going to turn it over to Jason Gilo, who can maybe update you on his stuff.
So, Jason Dio with Tollheim Realty Partners. We are one of the members of Diamond District Partners. This is a very large team of people. It's not one person, obviously. One member of our team is here tonight, Sir James Thornhill, who's going to lead our public art program. So, we always talk about what is a public-private partnership. It very much is, we kind of blend our teams. So when it comes to working on the public realm design standards, the traffic impact analysis, and one thing we're going back on right now in real time is, what should these street sections look like? How wide are the sidewalks, the tree wells, the curbs, the parallel parking, the bike lanes, the travel lanes, the turn lanes? How much parallel parking can we have? Where does it need to disappear so we can add turn lanes to get onto Hermitage, so we can get onto Arthur Ashe? These affect then the parcel lines, right? The setbacks of the buildings, the public plazas. Where are we going to put outdoor dining? So these are all the things that we're trying to kind of size right now, because the parcels that exist on this plan that we've all seen over time, they don't exist today. So we've got to adjust all the parcel lines. We are under contract with the city and the EBA with plans to close on the property in August. Subsequent to that, then we'll plat out all the individual parcels. We'll start working on the intricacies of the roadway designs, the streets, the public park, start working on the art program, and then eventually we'll perform all that work and turn the public park and the streets and the right-of-ways back over to the city. And they will be left with what we're actually going to build on, which will be the individual parcels. A lot of this requires very extensive coordination with the Squirrels, Machete, who is the developer running the project for them, as well as Gilbane, the general contractor. Just things like during construction, where subcontractors going to park. Where is the stormwater from the ballpark site going to drain to temporarily, right, until it's hooked up to the permanent facility? As you may know, there's a power line that runs across the site today. So we're having calls weekly with Dominion. How do we get that vacated? How is the new power going to feed to the site? We want all the power to be underground, so it's more attractive today than everything that's above ground. So it'll be in something called duct bank, which is concrete underground and protects the power lines. So you're going to see all those lines drop into the ground in the future. So those are just some of the logistics we're working on kind of behind the scenes. So we know, I'm a City of Richmond resident, used to live in the 2nd District and fan, now I'm in the 1st District. But I have friends all the time say, I don't see anything happening yet. When's it gonna happen? You keep saying you're gonna move dirt, but there is a lot happening in the background between squirrels, the city, the EDA, Department of Public Works, us, you know, all trying to make this happen. It is a massive undertaking, but the great thing is everyone is firing on all 6 cylinders. We feel really good about our partnership with the city. And I'll tell you that the city gets a lot of flack sometimes publicly for certain things, but they've been an incredible partner on this project. And you hear that from someone in the private sector, right? So I just want you to know that.
I thank you for that.
And I would say that if Sharon wasn't standing here, I really would. So they've been a great partner. Councilwoman Jordan or Sven, or any other topics you guys want us to kind of touch on?
Let's open it up to the floor.
Okay. Yes, sir.
If you're not closing on the real estate until August, isn't the Major League Baseball requirement that you be ready at opening day 2026, which is 20 months?
Correct.
You realistically think you're constructing a stadium in 20 months?
Let me start with the question. So these two events are a little dislocated from each other. So we have nothing to do with the ballpark. So we're buying the land around the park. Well, the city already owns, the EDA already owns the land.
Yeah.
So that conveyance, it's already happened.
So what real estate is being conveyed now?
All the other real estate.
The other real estate outside of the ballpark.
Yeah.
To us, so like we talked about the streets, the right of way, the public park, but the ballpark itself sits on land that's currently
So
owned by.
my question is to Sharon.
Yes,
Okay, you've got now 21 and a half months.
yes. And so the navigators are already working with finishing the construction documents for the stadium. They are doing it in a fast-track manner, meaning they've already completed all of their site work engineering documents. That's into the city, and the city DPU, DPW, plan review, they're reviewing those site work documents as we speak. Right behind that is going to be foundation documents for the stadium, and we expect those to come in next month. And then following that in 2 months will be the vertical. The stadium is 100% design and development documents completed, so they're fairly far along in terms of being, you know, the design documents being in good shape. But they, like I said, will start doing site work next month, and again, today is what, the 12th of June? So in about 2.5, 3 weeks. And then they will roll right into putting the foundation work in. There's a lot of site work to do. Let me tell you, there's a dewatering system, because, you know, baseball fields have to be dry even though if it rains for 2 hours straight. So there's a lot of site work. But yeah, right now we are still on schedule. The EDA will own the land. The EDA will own the stadium. The navigators will be in a 30-year lease agreement with the EDA. So that's why we say the land is not being conveyed to the Flying Squirrels. The land that the EDA is conveying is to the developer to build all the private parcels. And think of this as like a greenfield subdivision. Normally, you know, a developer in Chesterfield, in Rico, Hanover, they buy some, you know, land that's never been developed on before. They build all the roads, they lay out the roads, they lay out the lots. In that case, they would sell mostly, you know, single-family lots. They build the roads and then they turn them over to the municipality or the location. That's what's going to happen here. The developer is going to own everything, build everything to our requirements, and then convey over the street right-of-ways, the parks, etc.
One more point of ballpark, just so you know, the Squirrels are in complete control of the schedule. Since October, they have been running their own design team, own process. There's no one slowing them down at this point. So,
They're not in control of construction.
yes, they are.
Yes,
Yes,
they are.
they have selected their own contractor.
Yes.
They're entering into a contract with Gilbane Construction Company. So,
They would have started construction a couple of years ago if the city had been prepared, so.
yeah, but I'll tell you, since October, they've been in the driver's seat.
Yeah. So,
They were not always in the driver's seat. It
Since
wasn't
October.
just this fall.
yeah.
So I think we saw a question from school board member White, and then John Jerome.
My question is, the school board, we're in discussion with the sale of the Alpha Ash. What is actually going to be placed there after the sale is over? Can you say?
So When we negotiated with the developer, and we decided to take on the responsibility of doing the financing, one of the things that we did was take back some of the rights and opportunities to build out all 67 acres. So right now, nothing is planned for the corner of Robin Hood and Arthur Ashe Boulevard, where the Arthur Ashe Junior Athletic Center sits on. If you look at the master plan, it's probably showing an office building on that corner. But that's projected. First phase build out is about 8 to 10 years, depending upon if everything goes well. And then the developer has first right of refusal to purchase additional future lands. But that sets up the city and the EDA to be able to have about half of the development completed along with the stadium, and then the value of that land should hopefully be that much more attractive to
Whatever the
sell.
market price is
Yeah.
in 10 years from now,
Yeah.
the city can sell it on the open market. We just get the option to try to match the price. If we can't match it, the city can sell it.
Right, and so we really don't, I mean, like I said, the master plan shows an office building, whether that's what gets built 10, 12 years from now, I couldn't guarantee that.
If people still go to the office.
So we didn't really need to try to expedite that sale, because you said 10 years from now. We could have just kept out the Ashe right there.
That's correct, I mean, that's future land, that is not in his contract to purchase for phase one.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's good to hear that the squirrels are in control of the process on the stadium. Does that mean that if the scheduled deadline is not met, that it will be extended? Does the city have protections indemnifying the city should Major League Baseball pull out because the schedule is not made?
Yeah, there's all sorts of provisions in the stadium development agreement. So the pressure is really on the Flying Squirrels and their contractor to get it completed.
So unequivocally, if they don't meet that deadline, it will be extended, or the city will be made whole.
I mean, I can't tell you what MLB is going to do, because obviously they could do anything they want to do, but we have pretty high assurances, even if the Squirrels say aren't ready on March 1st, which is the goal, to have the stadium completed. They feel pretty confident that they'll be in there playing baseball sometime during 2026, but the schedule, is on them. Now, maybe we get a huge rain event, maybe we have a bad storm, maybe we have a tornado. Weather is one of those things in construction you can't plan against. There are all sorts of provisions for, what happens if you have a labor strike? What happens if you have materials that you can't get?
No, multiple things can
Yes.
happen, but again, is the city indemnified?
We're
Should they,
fine.
should,
We're
if Major
protected.
League Baseball
We are
pulled out,
protected.
will the city
I don't
be
see-
made whole?
I don't see
Because
Major
you're-
League Baseball pulling out, but there are provisions for Major League Baseball to replace the Squirrels in the agreements.
There's also a 30-year lease.
So,
Team.
so if, once they sign the lease agreement, they're responsible to hold to that lease agreement or find a replacement team.
But they've not yet signed that lease agreement.
No, that'll be this month.
Okay.
Yep.
If I can add a couple more comments, and Jonathan, please don't quote me in his sense on
Too
this.
late.
But, Major League Baseball takes a policy of not commenting publicly on any of this stuff, right? They are very much in the loop on every step of the way. Okay, they know schedules, they know budgets. We've gone to New York and met with them in person. They think Richmond is an extraordinary market. They love Richmond. They say they want to be here forever. And there's a lot of things that they have told us in person we can't repeat here that would indicate that they are fully committed to Richmond. Okay, I just want you to know that MLB is not unhappy with where we are. Sure, they wish it was built by now, but we're one of, we're one of 10 cities that has been dealing with this, and only half of them were able to finance new ballparks, given high interest rates. So Richmond is not alone in this battle. There are a number of cities across the country that have struggled with this, and we're now in the better half of that group.
Thank you.
Yeah, question.
as far as the traffic analysis, will that traffic analysis extend to Belvedere for the mere fact of that there could be people coming off the Belvedere exit to get to the Diamond District? So will that traffic analysis look at Lee Street as well, from Belvedere down Lee Street to the Diamond District? And if not, there's some concerns there because we're gonna add traffic through Clark community.
I don't think it went that far with this particular study. Do you remember if it did Lee and went all the way down to, Lee and Hermitage?
It goes down to Lee, Hermitage, all the way up to the 5 Points, then back down Arthur Ashe Boulevard and across again on Lee, but doesn't go further south.
Is it too late to ask for that to be looked at, or just sort of, digest it to say that there could be a possibility of increased traffic coming through, especially with an elementary school right there?
There's probably data in the study that's gonna say at that intersection, what are the new daily trips generated going down Lee Street, at least from that intersection? And what we've seen before is you can take a study like this and bolt onto it in the future, and take all that data and kind of see what it would do if you kept sending that traffic down Lee Street.
Yeah.
So actually, it wasn't included in the scope because of the primary focus, but, I think this traffic study that was done would help assist the future effort down Lee Street.
Okay. We'll bring it back up in the meeting.
Sure.
I have a question regarding this outline here. I mean, I may have missed it, but where exactly is the parking lot for the stadium?
Certainly. So, if you can envision this now, as you know, there's lots of surface lot out there. A lot of that surface lot is going to be available because it's in the future development phase. So for probably the first, I'm gonna say 6 to 8 years, people are still gonna be parking in that surface lot because it's not gonna get developed. Once we start to get towards the end of the first phase, there's a parking garage in that rendering that sits on the east side, yes, and Robin Hood. That's probably gonna be the first parking garage structure that goes out. And there's sort of a mall mentality of planning where you want people to park and then be able to walk through the brand new park that we're creating, as well as restaurants and other street level retail before you get to the stadium.
The other reason we intentionally put the structured parking up at the top right, away from the ballpark, is with the heavy amount of county residents that travel to the city and are coming off the interstate, we wanted that parking garage easily accessible, and we didn't want all of that traffic clustering right around the ballpark front gates, right? You've got people with ride shares, walking there, riding. We were trying to diffuse the traffic points, so that's why it's up at the top. The idea is you get out, you jump right on the interstate, and you leave. And some of the things we're doing, looking at, Robin Hood Road would actually widen right there, and it had turn lanes, so there's a lot of things we're looking at to help enable people to get in and out in an efficient manner.
All right, I saw 2 more hands and I think we're gonna have to wrap up this section. Sir, did you have
Just a quick comment that Richmond Squirrels are very excited about their attendance this year. They've had a number of sellouts, an increased partnership with local groups. They are very excited about being in Richmond now.
Yeah, they are. We finally made them down. So thank you.
Well, one piece of the rendering that kind of like comes in and out that was really exciting for the Greater Scotts Addition neighborhood, or Scotts Addition neighborhood, was the pedestrian
flyover.
The bridge over the CSX, providing non-vehicle conflict travel for individuals from our neighborhood into the Diamond District. And this rendering, I guess, on the screen no longer has it in it, or it's just outside of the view. I'm wondering if you could comment a little bit about where that part of the plan went, or if it still exists in the
Sharon and I
plan.
were just on a phone call, was it Friday, Monday?
Someone else.
Talking about this. So, and I'll let Sharon give her perspective as well. So, we think getting people across train tracks is really important, right, in a pedestrian manner, not hopefully jumping in their cars. With the current bridge replacement, we have really 2 options. And we're trying to figure out what is the most efficient use of city funds. You could potentially make that bridge a little wider, new bridge going in, and have a pedestrian crossover attached to it, right?
Jason, just real quick, do folks know what bridge he's talking about?
Sorry.
The Arthur Ashe
The Arthur Ashe
Bridge.
Bridge, which there's already a $15 million federal grant going to replace. The idea is it more cost effective to make that bridge a little wider, have bike lanes, walkways over it, that gets you across the train tracks and then over to the Diamond District. The city also owns land, when you get on the Scott's Addition side, on the west side of the bridge, where you could create a ramp to get people down in an ADA compliant manner back to grade. Keep in mind, this new bridge is 6 feet high, so it's gonna take a little bit more to get back down to grade. The other option is the flyover, which is featured in the master plan, probably cooler, probably more interesting to walk across, also more expensive. And the other downside to it, just I'm kind of a realist, I always looking at numbers and think, there's no place for it to land on public property on the south side of train tracks. So the bow tie cinema property and then the green wooded area that was just sold to level 2 development, you go over the CSX land and there's no place for it to land. So it'd be hard without acquiring property from those owners at probably a high price to get people down and back to grade kind of in an efficient manner. So I think it's really cool. I'm not sure, unless something changes with the property there, if it's practical at the end of the day. And the more cost-efficient way for the city to potentially pay for this is to bolt it onto the existing bridge that's gonna get built. My 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all are in love with the flyover rendering. It connects also over to this facility as well, and then connects to bike lanes on Lee Street that can then connect over as we're planning into Scott's Addition. But it is an expense, and so without going after potentially grant money to see if we can figure out a way to pay for it, I think Jason, being the practical person, has come up with a practical solution to be able to, like he said, widen the Arthur Ashe Bridge to allow for more sidewalk and bike lane, and then be able to get down on the western side of it into the Scott's Addition neighborhood, and so that you're safely, again, sort of separated. But ideally, we haven't given up on the opportunity of being able to do the flyover.
The one downside to the bridge expansion concept is that you still have to cross Arthur Ashe, right? And so that intersection would need to be safe. So in concept, the best design is the flyover. It's just, is it practical to build?
All right, well, thank you so much. I learn something new every time we come to speak about this. And, well, let's just say it's an incredibly complicated project. And if anyone has not read Miracle Boulevard about the building of the diamond, please read it. It was a wild ride to get that done. Anyone remembers if they didn't buy it, you can buy it at the gift shop at the Squirrels. Anyway, thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We have 2 more presenters. Our registrar is here. I think this should be the short version of the meeting. And then we have our wonderful friends from Parks and Rec that will close us out. So those were terrific questions, and I really appreciate it. It's an incredibly complicated project. Keith?
Everybody, how y'all doing? So real quick, just some updates about the election. There's an election going on. Currently, it is a primary for the U.S. Senate seat currently held by Tim Kaine. The election day is June the 18th. So this Sunday.
I'm sorry, if you're gonna have, just ask everyone if you're still having conversations, so please. Sharon? I'm so sorry, we don't have the microphone working, you guys can take side conversations outside. Thank you.
So June 18th is the election day. The hour, of course, is from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. The turnout has been light, just so you know. And that is primarily because we don't have a race for, so this is a congressional primary, but we don't have a race for the U.S. Representative seat that's currently held by Jennifer McCullough. So the other localities, the other congressional districts in the state are seeing much higher turnout because they have actually more of a competitive race for the U.S. representative seat. We don't have that race at all. Poll workers, we need an additional 500 people to serve as poll workers for the November election. So in order for us to help get to that number, what I'm going to do is that I have postcards that are about ready to go out. They'll go out probably early July, but there'll be postcards that go to every single registered voter in the city, all 160,000, asking for you to consider signing up to be a poll worker for this election coming up in November. There will be a QR code because we now made the process to apply to be an election officer much smoother and easier. You can actually do it from your phone by using a QR code. We have actually increased the amount of money that we're going to pay to election officers to just help us with the numbers, because we know that for the upcoming election in November, we're going to need poll workers because number one, it's a presidential election and the turnout rate exceeds over 80%, so it's a very high turnout for the presidential election we're expecting, which of course is going to happen. Also, because of same-day registration, which is a new thing, a newish law that went into effect a couple of years ago, the number of voters who are casting a provisional ballot has skyrocketed. And we certainly need help, specifically here in the 2nd District, because this is where most of our VCU precincts are. So please help us out with that. Also, candidates for local office, the deadline for local candidates to submit paperwork to my office is this Tuesday at 7 p.m. My staff will have the ballot finalized by late June. After that ballot is finalized, we'll put out a press release. I'm pretty sure the media is going to pick up on it. Everybody's going to be excited to see who qualified for the ballot. Just to help people out to be informed, we're going to send out a newsletter to everybody late summer. It's going to have who's on the ballot, also dates for early voting, things you need to know in order to be better prepared for the November election. What am I missing? The ballot, also too, and also because redistricting happened, this is the first election, local election that we've had since redistricting. In that same letter, that's going to have the newsletter in late summer. It's going to also have information regarding your polling locations, because for some of you, that location has changed. So for the ballot for the November election, just so we all are aware, it'll have U.S. President, U.S. Senate, House of Representatives. We will be electing a new mayor. Races for city council and school board will also be on the ballot. And there will be a constitutional amendment. We will have literature at the polling locations so that you are aware of what's regarding that constitutional amendment. And my staff has worked very hard to upgrade our website. So you have any information regarding voter registration, absentee voting, election night results. You can easily find that information by going to rva.gov/elections. We got tabs for you to find all the information that you need to know. So don't hesitate to check that out. You also can reach our office, of course, right down the street. But you can call us at 646-5950. We'll answer any questions that you need regarding anything that you might want to ask. Speaking of asking, does anyone have any questions for me? Ms. White.
My question is, how old do you have to be a poll worker? And have you recruited using some of our RPS students?
Great question. So the question is, how old do you have to be in order to serve as a poll worker? That answer is 18. You have to be 18 years old. I'm looking to meet with officials of RPS in the next couple of weeks to develop strategies about how to recruit seniors who are currently who are currently in high school. So I'm looking forward to those conversations because, Ms. White, you're correct. If we can get people in while they're younger, it's likely that they'll stay and continue to be election officers in the future. Any other questions?
Well, thank you so much.
Thank y'all so much.
It is so much fun working elections. So if you're all available and have capacity to do it, it really is such a rewarding experience. You see people determined, some of them are angry, some of them are hopeful. You will see your neighbors, and it feels good to participate. So spread the word.
Yeah.
Thank you. And with that, now we have folks who were the first two here. And unfortunately, because of the way Cookie Crumbled, they're our last presenters. But Parks and Recs, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nisa Richardson. I'm Deputy Director of Capital Projects for Parks and Recreation. And this is...
My name is Alan McCown, and I work for NISA on the Capital Projects team.
We won't keep you too much longer here, but I thought we'd give you a couple of updates on some big things that are going on in our department. Namely, where you are right now, the new headquarters. So we'll give you an update on that. We are also in the process of our first in like 50 years master plan, citywide parks master plan. So I'll update you on that. And then we'll just give you an update on a couple of local park improvements that we're making here in the 2nd District. So, first thing, here, the new headquarters, I think as you all know, this training facility is slated to be transferred over to Parks and Recreation, and that action has been presented to Council. We are hoping to receive approval by Council this month, and so assuming that that goes through, we are working with architects, or will be working with architects to design out the facility so that we can move all of our headquarters staff who are currently in a building on Admiral Street that was built in the 1940s. It was a previous like industrial warehouse manufacturing facility. Not many improvements have been made to that facility in the last, I don't know how long. So everyone's really excited about having a new and updated office space and place where we can run events and programming. So we should all of that fall into place. We hope that we can have design complete and or renovations complete and move everybody in by July of 2025. So fingers crossed that that moves forward. With that comes additional programming, the fields that you see, the park that's in the back. We're excited about being able to use that right now, which we have kind of been testing out as we're leasing the facility. Those of us that are here now are a couple of our recreation event planners and then deputy directors and our directors. So Chris Brelke, our director, myself, Shamar Young, and then some other staff who help advise on policy and administrative issues. So we're excited to be here, and what that means is that we've been able to start programming the fields. So that means that we've been able to include additional soccer, football activities. That allows, the size of these fields allows us to accommodate 8 games simultaneously, which is a real win for folks throughout the city. We also are able to continue to program this event space here, and once transfer is complete, that will still be available to the public. There's a beautiful conference room downstairs as well, with doors that open up to the outside of the field. That will all be available to the community and for rent. So once the park and the facility comes into the park's portfolio, the park that's in the back will be open just like the rest of our parks from sun up to sundown. So, any questions on that? Yes?
Okay, when you guys acquire the park, hopefully through council action, will you guys rename the facility, or will it still be called the Bond Security Training Center?
That's a great question. As of right now, we're referring to it as the training on Lee Street or the Lee Street Training Facility. I don't know how. Parks typically doesn't take on naming facilities ourselves. It's a council action that typically happens. So we'll see.
We don't own our current building, so we'll be saving taxpayer money when we get here, and we've been calling it Admin Street, so.
That's true.
It's a good question.
And did I see someone else's hand go up? Okay. All right. I'll proceed then just to update you all. I don't know if everybody got this, but I can email it to you so you can distribute this. On here is an update on our master plan and a QR code. So, as I mentioned, this is actually the first district meeting where we've shared this information, so it's new to you all, and you're the first to hear and be invited to apply. We have a steering committee process, an application process for you to participate on that steering committee. We want input from the public. We want to hear what has been lacking, where do we need to improve, where do we need to grow, and so we need that from all of you who use our public park spaces. So the park process itself is called Richmond Inspire, And what we are really hoping is that we engage not just the public, but all of our other city departments, our staff, in a process that informs the plan and makes sure that for the next number of years, 10 years or so, we have a plan to implement that really directs acquisition of future parkland, maintenance, replacement of facilities, trails, you name it. So we're really excited about that and encourage you all to check out that QR code. We will be building a website as well, so we will share that with the public and you'll be able to kind of monitor progress. We'll continually have public engagement meetings as well, so we'll keep everyone updated on how that's going. So, any questions about our master planning process?
Also, we do have a couple of those copies left. If you don't have one, I can bring one to you. You can grab one for you.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Alan to
All right.
update on our parks.
So first of all, if you took the survey regarding the Smith Peters Parks improvements, thank you. We put that survey out last year, and then kind of had it open through the winter. And so going off of what the data showed and what the public wanted, the basketball court and the playground were the two biggest priorities that kind of came out of that survey. Some other things we're looking at are improving that pavilion, community garden, improving some fencing kind of along the backside. Everybody familiar with Smith Peters Park?
I think you need to, I think not everyone now.
Okay, so it's a block off of Lee, south over in Carver.
Very close to Carver Elementary School.
Yes, very close. There is a small basketball court that has 2 hoops that are back to back, which doesn't really work for playing basketball effectively. There's more of those in the city than I'd like to admit, but we're working on that. So one of the first things that we will see this summer is that court is going to be turned into an actual basketball court. And then there'll be some netting on the backside, so the ball is either going into the alley or into someone's front porch or into the street. On top of that, looking at making some improvements to the playground. One of the improvements that we're going to do to the playground, along with also Abner Clay, is the actual surface that the playground is on. Bringing it up to either a poured in place mixed rubber or something that kind of looks a lot like AstroTurf. It's ADA accessible, it's more durable, it'll lower maintenance costs, and it's a lot safer for kids, and it's industry standard. If you're familiar with the Grayland Tot Lot, AstroTurf-ish type surface that we're looking at, we're going to decide what's going to be most cost effective from a maintenance standpoint between those two sites, and it'll be consistent. Some of the other smaller improvements were the fence I mentioned, and then a community garden. And a walking trail. Those are all things that we can generally do in-house, so we're going to be looking at kind of how to fit those in through the summer, along with the larger project being the playground and the basketball court. Any questions about Smith Peters? And then I guess general parks questions for either of us.
You may see active construction going on in other districts, so just an update on that. We did receive money from the American Rescue Plan Act to build an addition onto Southside Community Center, to build a brand new facility at Lux Field. That community center is under construction. Another brand new community center at TV Smith, also on the south side, and then to make improvements to Calhoun, as we are in the process of having that community center transferred from our RHA into the parks portfolio. So we're constructing a splash pad there, and then making a number of really wonderful improvements to the interior of that facility. So that $78 million in ARPA funding that Parks and Recreation received is really getting put into the ground, hard and fast, with lots of amenities for our communities to enjoy. So anyway, any other general parks questions for us?
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, sorry, about this facility, did you say that it was available for community use in the interim?
Yes, it's still available. And so
Parks and Rec or
Priscilla Wright is the one who's coordinating all of that. Yep.
Okay.
So you can absolutely reach out to her if you have an event you want.
I think you can expect to see more second edition.
That's a great question. And it's true, I would say just relevant on the parks issue. We have been getting some complaints about activity at Amherst Lake Park, the pavilion, that is not conducive to everyone being able to enjoy the pavilion. And just know that we are on that, and anytime you see things that are not allowed, or intimidating to other people being able to enjoy the park, please let us know. We've got great partners at the parks, and they want them, as vibrant and true to mission as they are supposed to be. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
But yes, I am so excited that this is gonna be in the Parks and Recreation portfolio. I think this is gonna be tremendous for the community, the outdoor spaces, indoor facility is really gonna be, I think, a boon for our neighborhood, but also so easily accessible to everyone in the city. You guys hear from me every single Friday in my newsletter, but we do have, some minutes left till 8. I'll give a quick announcement, just before everyone starts to scatter. I hope people will come to the mayoral forum that we're having at Dogwood Middle School, June 26th. Doors open at 5:30, program starts at 6, doors close at 8. And we're thrilled to have one of the candidates here tonight, Harrison Rodet. Just want to wave to everybody. Thank you for coming. Our meetings are open to everybody. I hope you will take advantage of that forum. We're collecting questions from throughout the district right now for the candidates. There will also be an opportunity at the end of that panel discussion with those questions to hear questions from the audience if we have not gotten to something that interests you. With that said, does anyone have a question for me or for Sven? Sven, thank you for running a great meeting so far. Technology will always let you down.
And that form to submit questions for the forum is gonna be open until the 21st. But get your question in there. And then we expect to get more questions than we can ask time permitting. And so we are gonna try to curate based on questions that touch on district-specific issues, neighborhood-specific issues, and also citywide issues as well.
All right, well, thank you. Enjoy the view. Watch the sunset here as you walk out or talk to your friends.